right, so it's actually I don't want to like say too much about what we're doing or why we're doing it. I think I just want to, let's catch up.
Yeah.
What day is it?
Wednesday.
All right, Wednesday. Yeah.
Wednesday, it is April 8th, which I know because it has been 7 months since I had a baby, which is crazy.
There you go. Congrats. 7 months ago.
Yeah.
I don't think I recommend that as a way of keeping time for most people.
Most people don't know exactly how long it's been since I gave birth. Really? That's so weird.
Is this the end of the fourth trimester? Is that what's happening? No, that's a while ago.
The fourth trimester ended a couple months ago for us. The fourth trimester is only, the 3 months long. So
this would be number 6.
Guess.
All right.
You do it by trimester.
That's how we're counting things.
Yeah. But no, it's a little late now when we're all talking because so many of us have had to put little ones to bed, and I think it's time for us to discuss some sexy time because that's what we're all here for. What is it about Outlander that I need to start watching immediately?
Oh my God, Frank. First of all, everyone in it's hot. Well, that's not true, but the leads are, and that's what's important.
Yeah, and they're naked a lot.
Like a lot. Doing sexy things together. Although, honestly, in the beginning, like, if you're like, I'm here for the sex, it's going to take a while to get to the good stuff. Because
there's plenty of, like, nudity and stuff, though.
There's, like, background, and there's, like, introducing the characters, and there's time travel, and there's, like, political drama in the clan, and then we get to the sexy stuff.
For those of you who were a fan of Battlestar Galactica, the show producer, the showrunner for Outlander is Ronald D. Moore.
The music, Bear McCreary does the music for both shows.
Oh yeah,
he does. You're right.
Yeah.
I never thought I was going to be one of those people who's like, oh man, I love this, this soundtrack producer, writer, whatever. But Bear McCreary,
I'm one of those people.
He's my jam. I like it.
So yeah, it's a good show. I've only actually seen like the premiere of the 3rd season at like a convention, but it was very good.
It's very on brand for you, James.
It is very on brand for James.
James and I saw the premiere. Do you remember what we saw together, James? We saw the premiere of The 100 Season 2.
We did. Well, we were trying to watch the premiere of like season 2 of The Flash and the 1st season of Constantine, but it was smack in the middle.
But yeah, we'll sit through this. I don't remember anything but feeling uncomfortable.
I remember when like an actor from Lost walked out and you just like screamed, I knew it.
I don't know what I knew, but I knew it. I still feel like I knew it. Yeah, all right, that's a good one. Yeah. So what are the time periods Outlander takes place during? Actually, I don't know.
So it's
as of right now, where I've gotten to, there's 3.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's it starts out immediately post World War II. And then there's the time travel business, and it takes you back to the 1700s, right? Jacobean
1740s.
Yeah, Jacobean era Britain, Scotland fighting for independence. And then as you get further into the series, you end up in the 1970s, 60s, 70s,
60s.
around there.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. If you like historical drama, you get to see really distinct eras and fun costuming and all that kind of stuff that goes with it. I don't know about you guys, but for me, historical dramas are almost always about the costumes, not so much the actual history.
That's a lot of Taylor watching it. She'll like drag me into watching a show because she's like, "Oh, the costumes, this is great!" Like she's had this like look on her face the entire last season because she's like, "Oh, this dress, oh, the red dress, oh, that."
Yep. Yep, I feel that. I mean, like,
It's also about that for the Academy too.
yeah, no, it's fun stuff. And I don't know if you get, well, I assume that you guys haven't read the books, but I read the books, and the books are also good. Although once you get to like I guess like the sixth or seventh book, you sort of reach a point where it's like, I know this woman's writing so well that I don't feel like I need to do the reading anymore because I can see
This
what's
one's
coming.
gonna die. These people are gonna hook up. This is gonna happen here.
Yep.
Wait
Yeah.
till you
Yep.
get to the 36th book in a series. Let me tell you.
Speaking of not reading the books, and I don't know if Pope actually officially said he was going to do it. How far are you guys on High Fire?
So I haven't started it because I am also doing another book club where we were reading Fountains of Silence, which is another historical drama. Speaking of Outlander and historical dramas, but this one is set in fascist Spain. So that was a really interesting read that I like didn't know anything about that era or country in that time. I do recommend it though. Like definitely check that out. But that's why I haven't started High Fire because I was busy reading that one. But it is next in my stack of books. So if Percy is cooperative and I am able to get some solo reading time where I'm not, stuck under a baby, I intend to start it, ASAP.
James, have you? I mean, you're the one who suggested it, right?
I am in the first chapter. I did a little reading the other day, and I plan to do a bunch of reading this weekend as I cook the Easter dinner for myself and my wife and myself.
Nice.
I think I'm like 3 chapters in. I'm like, I'm not usually ahead. But yeah, no.
We'll catch up soon. Well, you're 3 chapters in. What do you think so far? General thought. Because I don't know if you're familiar with his writing or his writing style or anything like that.
So I apparently own like 4 books by him, whose name I'm not going to even try to pronounce. Somebody else do it.
Ian Collar.
There you go. Which it sounds like it was very easy to pronounce, but it doesn't look like it's spelled that way. So I think like starting with
That's because it's not.
That's because it's not. It's Colfer, right?
Yeah, those Gaelic spellings, they'll get you.
Yeah.
And I think I have I think he was the one who wrote the like 5th or 6th book in the Hitchhiker's Guide trilogy.
He did, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So like every time I'm like, oh wait, this name looks familiar. It's just I've never spoken it aloud because it's written in some strange foreign alphabet, which is not true. But anyway. Yeah, so the first few, it's an interesting read. I can't even picture exactly what's going on with our main character, which I find fascinating. I read it through the first chapter twice, and I was like, wait a minute, did I personify the dragon? Is the dragon-like? And I just didn't really picture it because it's an interesting story. If those of you who haven't been like following everything we've been saying in every social media platform, High Fire is this book about I guess the last dragon in Louisiana trying to like live his best life in an otherwise normal setting. And it's an interesting read. It's funny and dark, and I'm glad I'm going through it.
And dark is good right now. I think that a lot of us are in that kind of mood.
Woo. Well, I want to stay on Colfer for a minute because Disney made an announcement the other day, and I haven't gotten to like rage about any of this yet on the channel.
Incoming rant.
But they are officially moving Artemis Fowl to a Disney Plus release, which is his very popular children's series. Kind of my Harry Potter equivalent. That not to say I didn't love and read all of the Harry Potter books like a crazy person, but I was really into this series as a kid, and I feel that it just shows the lack of faith Disney has in this adaptation, And I will say that upon the release of the additional trailers, I was not super thrilled. And, like, I try not to be that guy with adaptions. But there's some key factors and carryovers you just want to see, and I'm just sad that they don't seem like they're there, but I will not have to pay anything additional to watch it, so there's that.
Way to look on the bright side.
I think I've seen Percy Jackson. I'm wrong, right? This is Artemis Fowl. I
Correct.
mixed it
It's a different thing.
up. That was not
Though,
a joke. I totally, they're
fair-
all the same.
Yeah, that was also a book that was excellent, and then the movie was not.
Yeah, they all blend together as like Harry Potter wannabes, which is perhaps unfair or perhaps completely accurate. But I can't. There was an Artemis Fowl something, right? There was some kind of There was a movie or TV show. Am I missing?
Nope.
No,
Oh, you're
James
thinking
just
of
got
Percy
really excited
Jackson.
talking about it.
yeah, so they had they did a series of graphic novels, but that's as far as it's come to any sort of adaptation in other mediums. This movie kind of was held up in production for a very long time. It was something they obviously started talking about, after he was a couple books in, and it obviously was popular enough to have attention. But it wasn't until Disney bought the rights to all of the publishing novels that they started kind of seeing the potential in it. And don't get me wrong, a lot of things look great. I think the costumes and characters look great. They've done a really interesting thing with the visuals of the fairy world and stuff like that. But kind of the key thing about Artemis in the books is that, it's kind of his discovery of the fairy world and his journey that makes it very interesting, and makes him kind of relatable in the fact that he's unrelatable. I feel like that's the main concern, is that these characters, what you enjoyed about them when they were kids is that you felt like an outcast. So the fact that they were outcasts was always the thing you latched onto. And what they've done is to attempt to make Artemis more relatable. They've shifted a lot of the story elements that were his odd achievements that made him, either super smart or super aloof or super whatever, and pushed them off onto his father. He is played by Colin Firth, so that is a nice surprise. But they kind of give that story to someone who was essentially a non-character in the books, and that's always unfortunate. When you take away some character's achievements and then give them to another character.
I feel very, very strongly like that's what happened with Harry Potter movie Hermione and Ron versus Harry Potter book Hermione and Ron. Like, if you go back and reread after watching, I think you'll find that Hermione is not as kick-ass as she appears in the movies, and Ron is not as much of a doofus as he appears in the movies, because they took and switched a lot of character traits.
There are how many successful YA books that have turned into movies? And I'm like there's, I would say, Hunger Games, Twilight, I would say Harry Potter.
Rambo.
Which one was that one?
Rambo. You don't
Rambo?
Rambo? The book was First Blood.
Is that
Even
young-
is it a YA book?
Like,
I
I know
don't
you
know
don't.
that I would consider that to
I
be
don't
young
think there's a
adult.
YA book.
Oh, young adult. Sorry, I missed the young adult part. It's we're a little on the audio here. Young adult audio.
I would.
Pope the Librarian would be very, very interesting. Here you go, kid. Read
Here
Rambo.
you go. I heard there's a lot of violence in this book. No, you'll be fine.
I
The
would
original
add the Chronicles of Narnia to that list, perhaps.
Yeah, they did get 3 of those movies out.
I mean, like, maybe not the same level of success, but enough that they kept making them,
So I'm thinking there's like Maze Runner, which I'm only vaguely aware exists.
I don't really know much about that.
Yeah.
I really liked the Maze Runner books. The
He was into them.
movies were pretty good, and I got interested in the books because of the movie. But the books are better, obviously.
Books are always better.
And we're talking specifically series here.
Are you thinking of, like, single one-off novels and movies that are young adult.
Stand up, obviously, something like Hugo, right? It's a
Right,
young
right.
adult book.
Or Coraline.
Beautiful. Or
Lemony
Coraline.
Snickets, do we say?
Oh, Lemony Snicket totally counts.
Yeah.
That was made into a movie and a TV show.
Although it was like 7 books, and they've never gotten past book 3.
No, the TV show goes all the way through, just condenses some books. So instead of being how many books are there even in the series now? Instead of being all gazillion books, it's only however many episodes it is. I actually really liked the Netflix adaptation of Unfortunate Events. Thought it was really well done.
Do we count How to Train Your Dragon since it's animated? But that's based on a series of young adult books. Although,
I mean,
admittedly,
are we going to count like Captain Underpants?
Yeah, I guess it depends on how
Very
young we're going
like
for young adult.
Like how young are we talking?
No, I think you still have to be kind of an adult. Yeah, so like I'm just saying, like what makes, I still think those are the 3 that count as successes, either financial or creative. Even like I loved the Chronicles of Narnia. I love the Wine, which were the wardrobe. I vaguely remember the next 2 movies, which was, you know, and it's a long, it's a very old book compared to the other ones, but I can't really say that's super successful. I really think we got those 3, but what's that magic bullet? Why do they work and nothing else seems to? It's not just that the stories are better.
But what about, like, I don't know if it's young adult or just straight adult, but like The Magicians? Lev Grossman turned into a sci-fi
honestly
channel.
I want to watch that. I definitely do. I can't. It doesn't seem like it's the breakout, and I know not everything can be a breakout hit, but it feels like more should have been. There's so much like money at the table. There's so much that can be had. It feels like something could have been done. Like I'm just surprised Artemis Fowl is like straight. Well, I guess, you know, there's extenuating circumstances, but straight to streaming.
Indeed.
I don't know.
What? Let's take. You know, I guess now we're gonna get famous for these formulas here. But what do we think Harry Potter, Hunger Games, and Twilight have in common as adaptions that make them successful?
More than 3 books.
No, seriously. Source material.
Yeah.
But that's not.
I think that's a start though. Like that's a first step, because I feel like a trilogy is common, even as not uncommon as it used to be. It's more common now. So
Hunger Games is a trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
And also, it's not something that a lot of these franchises that didn't pop off have, right? Percy Jackson's got a lot of books. Artemis Fowl's got like 12. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm just saying that's like a foundational step.
Part of it might be that not so much that they're not trilogies or they are trilogies or number of books, but like a clear story arc. Sometimes I feel like young adult series will sort of run their main story arc and then start a new one that doesn't feel connected to a larger overarching story, whereas Hunger Games, Twilight, Harry Potter had a very clear, like each novel was its own thing, but the series as a whole had a very clear direction it was going, a very clear like climax that was like, this is the end of this story, whereas I'm not sure that other series have had the same like level of clarity on what the bigger picture is.
I'm also going to say, as far as an adaptive perspective, it's a faithful interpretation of that story arc, right? Or a faithful adaptation of that story arc, right? Knowing that obviously you're not going to hit on all the plot points because, you know, turning an X amount of 100-page book into a 2-hour movie, you can't do it all, but you have to say, what at the essence is this book about? We need to make sure we get that in our movie, right? And I think, you know, for better or worse, Hunger Games, Harry Potter, Twilight, they do that.
Well, I think also the first movie has to be something. Like I can't find the word.
Successful. No.
I mean, yeah, like it needs to like beyond successful. Even really, it's got to be something of a spectacle. The way, like, I mean, Harry Potter was a record-breaking movie when it came out. I feel like, otherwise they're not going to make a second movie because
definitely it needs to be box office worthy, and I think part of that comes from having a good following in the book form. Like, I think it helps to be a crossover hit, like adults and children. It's not just teenagers who are reading these books. It's teenagers and young adults and their parents and so on. Like, there's grown women who are very into Twilight. There's people of all ages who read Hunger Games and Harry Potter. And I think that having that wide audience really helps as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're nailing it more on the head, Gwen. It's not like these studios for the most part are putting small money into their potential franchise starters, right? Artemis Fowl's a budget of 125 million. I'm sure Disney
feels like a lot of money to me.
Yeah, to some degree they're not thrilled with the fact that they're going to release it on Disney Plus. But at the same time though, I think it's about good storytelling, right? It's about faithful enough adaptation. If we look at the Harry Potter franchise, I think what's interesting about the first two movies is they feel almost like reading the book, in the sense that they're very whimsical and they feel very rote of what's happening, which isn't a bad thing. It obviously gets people on board who have a book audience, perspective, but then they diverge, right? Yeah. As the books get bigger, as the books get more intense, they thematically adapt more straightly, as compared to having to hit everything.
In a way, though, I think that's faithful to what the books do, because like the tone of, say, like the fourth book versus the first book is incredibly different, because the story's evolving, the characters are growing. It doesn't stay one note. It doesn't stay like this is a book for 11-year-olds, even though we start out that way. And I think the movies sort of follow that while making changes that are necessary to be successful in film. Like, the things you can do in a book are very different, I think, from the things you can do in a movie in terms of tone shift.
I think also, maybe, and this will be my last input on this, is I think they should add something, whether that's adding something because of the medium or adding something that maybe the material needs.
Clarifying
world building, really.
Element.
Yeah, I'll use the Hunger Games and Harry Potter as good examples. The Hunger Games, particularly in the second book, has difficulty with the fact that we're stuck in Katniss's first-person perspective while trying to balance the idea of telling this larger story. The second movie is able to pepper in just a couple of scenes that Katniss doesn't take part in, that gives us a little bit of an idea of what's going on in the world, that makes the things that happen at the end of the second movie and then into the third movie less jarring, more sensical. Harry Potter adds
dramatic, but they fit the arc better.
Correct. Harry Potter adds a lot of tangible stuff to the wizarding world, particularly once Yates comes on board, right? We establish specific looks for fighting styles with wands. We give a sort of texture to magic in the world, starting around movie 5, that, isn't in the books, right? The only thing they go to a great extra lengths to describe is the Patronus. You know what I mean? Like, for mundane magic, it's just, we do this and this happens, particularly with wand magic.
Because when you look at it, like, I think a lot of the Chronicles of Narnia, you could say the same thing about those, and how they took relatively loose books and forced the adaptation to it, learning a little bit from Lord of the Rings, and gave a unique style and everything to the world. And then you could look at Twilight, which was, close, maybe not exactly close to Harry Potter, but like it definitely a phenomenon. And I look at that and I'm like, I can't say, aside from my own little, biases of not liking it, can't honestly say that those movies were amazing. Even the first movie, like I thought maybe Pope's idea was right. You just have to have a really good first movie. And then you look at the first movie in the Twilight Saga and you're like, maybe you don't need that.
It made a lot of money and was critically acclaimed, though.
Critically? I know, money, I can't, maybe because I only watched the riff track version and I'm like, I can't take this seriously. But,
Sorry,
I don't know, I think maybe it's magic.
It was a mixed review movie, but like, it wasn't panned, which could always speak to, I guess the cult phenomena that is the movie.
Maybe it's just the rabidness of the fans. Maybe just the Artemis Fowl fans are just not rabid enough.
Not vocal enough.
Yeah, but then again, Sonic, I don't know. Nothing's more rabid than a Sonic the Hedgehog fan.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.